Hello, Facebook and YouTube. It's Reid from readaboutsex.com, and I'm on my roof today because I'm cleaning out the gutters, and I thought I would do my Facebook Live up here. Now I'm not gonna go up to the highest point, so don't freak out on me, anyone. I've been cleaning out the gutters. When I was a kid, we did it. I'm doing it on the house. I'm not high up. I'm not going to die. I've also got a ladder. So I'm on my roof right now. Where are you today? And today's question is actually kind of inspired by yesterday's video, which is about, and also let me know if you can hear me. I want to make sure I don't screw that up again. This microphone's getting finicky, or I have lint, pocket lint, in my little iPhone port. I have to figure that one. Hey, Stefan. So the question was inspired by yesterday's question, where somebody wrote in about if, as an older man, ejaculating, if it lessens your life force. And we had some great comments yesterday. So Caroline Carrington, thank you for leaving your brilliance in the comment fields. And so I wanted to have a part 2 about this and talk about the benefits of not orgasming. And it's kind of a trick question because I know a lot of people would be like, they have to watch this video. But it's only a trick question in that what I want to talk about are the benefits of not ejaculating as a penis owner. And then maybe tomorrow we'll talk about the benefits of not having an orgasm if you are a vulva owner. And again, I'm just going to be my dorky, geeky self and not make this about gender. I'm going to make it about equipment, because you can identify however you want. But let's just talk about the plumbing and maybe the energetics and the hormonal aspects of what happens around ejaculation and orgasm. And something that Caroline dropped in yesterday to the conversation, because I was focused more on talking about the life force piece, and the life force question and ejaculation question around life force tends to come from, or when I've run into it, it's a Taoist sacred sexuality kind of conversation where they'll talk about that. Energy and life force, chi, kundalini, shakti, those things also pop up in the Tantra world. There are also things that, get talked about in Chinese medicine and in Ayurvedic medicine. So it's more like where do you come upon these conversations or schools of thought where they're talking about life force and what increases life force, what doesn't increase life force, can you leak life force, what are those things? Most of the time, you don't hear Western doctors, or at least not in America, talking about like medical doctors from the more traditional Western medicine. Maybe not holistic in alternative medicines, but somebody who went to med school. You don't hear them talking about life force too often, or kundalini, and maybe that's a problem. But yesterday's question was more focused on those areas, and now I want to chat a little bit about, there's all the benefits of having ejaculatory orgasms around what has been studied or what I've run into. Please add more information if you got it, especially links to actual studies and peer-reviewed research. But when you have an orgasm of an ejaculatory nature, there's a lot of hormones that get released into the body. An orgasm in general, for all types of genitalia owner, tend to release a lot of stress-reducing hormones and good things for your immune system kind of situations, roughly speaking. Where it can be useful to not have an orgasm or withhold an orgasm, and in a reductive way as a penis owner, and talking about American culture, withholding an orgasm means ejaculation, because Americans especially are horrible about making the distinction between orgasm and ejaculation. And this is where it gets really interesting and nerdy and geeky when you go into Tantra and Taoist practices, because there is a distinction there. Like, you can have an orgasm and not ejaculate. And if you're, which, you know, for a lot of people in America is like, what? Say what? Like, that's a thing? You can do that? As a young lad who had a penchant for climbing birch trees, not in a Robert Frost kind of way, humping birch trees was kind of a thing for me when I was little, because it gave me all these tinglies down there, and I didn't quite know what that was other than it felt good. But, you know, not having gone through puberty yet, I was having these tingly orgasmic feelings without ejaculation. And then once I went through puberty, lo and behold came the day when I had my first ejaculatory orgasm. Because for me, I don't think I'd ever had a nocturnal emission before that. But it was like, whoa, like no one told me about this. And I'm old enough to have had that happen before the porn on the internet days and before we had VCRs. So I, you know, couldn't figure out how to work my dad's stag film collection back then as a young wee lad. So when you start going into Taoist sexuality and Tantra practices and things like that, then there's this distinction, like, can you have an orgasm as a penis owner and not ejaculate? And there are a bunch of different practices to kind of practice this idea. There's energetic sex and just having a lot of pleasure that doesn't, you know, these kind of creatic, energetic spasms and waves of pleasure in your body that feel, to me, maybe not to you, but to me, very, very different than an ejaculatory orgasm. It does not feel similar. It's more full body, a lot of pleasure. I'm somebody who's twitchy from a kundalini kind of awakening, you know, spasm point of view. Not everybody is twitchy. People who've had kundalini awakenings can express them in all different types of ways. There's not a way that's more evolved than another. I just happen to be floppy and twitchy, and that's useful for when I'm teaching, because I can show you that something's happening. Those twitches, those gross motor, muscular responses, those feel really good, and they're quite relaxing, and there's a lot of pleasure in them, but it's not the same as the, like, genital, pelvic floor tension build up and then the release that also is accompanied with my prostate having a bunch of muscular spasms and then ejaculating. Those are two very different things, but as an American, no one ever talked to me about this. This was not common knowledge to me. What's interesting, or what can some of the benefits be about learning how to experience and hold a lot of energy, a lot of pleasure, and not spill over into traditional ejaculatory orgasms, is that you can last longer often, and have, if you're into penetrative sex, or, you know, giving, also receiving, you know, whether you're receiving the penetrative sex, like, there's a lot more choice and variety there in being able to play with and kind of explore sensation and pleasure, because you get good at steering away from ejaculatory orgasms, which for a lot of us, you know, as we get older, kind of signals time for a refractory period. There's like a dip in libido and maybe interest, certainly a dip in erection usually. And so, you know, when you do come from an ejaculation perspective, like, at least I'm experiencing this kind of, you know, time to take a break. Let's get a snack. Let's take a little brief power nap. Or let's focus on you for a while, doing something different. Being able to control if and when you ejaculate then gives you a lot more room to explore and play with penetrative sex, you know, fucking and things like that, in ways that weren't there for me before. And all the practice and the exercises and the things you need to do